And our broader thesis was simply that it makes no sense that meme coins are coming from these apps that are totally disconnected from social. Now we have this insane number of tokens deployed. If you click at show trending, you can see probably the top tokens right now. And we built this simple little front end, but mostly it's just the bot.
So I've deployed a bunch of tokens on like Pump.fun, have fucked around with WoW. And it's so hard to actually get attention on them, right? Like you actually have to do a lot of hard social work to get anyone to see them, build kind of this initial community. And I think what we're seeing with Clanker is like it immediately just gets this audience. So if the meme's good and it's launched in an interesting way, people see it and it gets this adoption much easier than if you launched on a launch pad and then had to go tweet and tell everyone that you did this thing and then kind of rally some community behind it. So I think it's interesting.
Internet Explorers.
Pumping myself up. Chaos this morning. How are we here? I love it. I got coffee all over my keyboard, half the amount of coffee. Thought I'd use the music to get me jacked up a little bit here. Josh, you saw the crackly headphone. What's going on? But
fuck man, like I got the sexiest mic I could find and it's still crackly. So we got some troubleshooting to do.
There's Josh just in there with his like Nintendo 64 blowing out the cartridge, trying to get it all not crackly, but
yeah,
episode 55 Internet Explorers. Hopefully slightly better audio than last time, but going to be a little bit less good. What is going on? I got like Siri yelling at me now too.
We got Peace. Peace is back. Peace is back.
Good morning. Good morning. We're live and online.
Huge.
Baby.
It's already better. Just seeing you navigate the internet just feels great.
Yeah, we were missing a little je ne sais quoi. Je ne sais quoi. All right. Well, yeah, I feel very together and prepared for the show, Josh. Love it. Like every show.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Very excited to have Peace back. I feel like, just a little magic when he's surfing the internet. And in fact, this is where the whole idea for the show came from, was us just sitting there and watching Peace surf the internet on a big TV. And it's just enjoyable. So welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
Nice. All right. Well,
we got to get bigger screens, more big screens in every home.
I thought I don't have any big screens in my home other than my computer screens. People, apparently most people still have TV. I don't have a TV.
Jess watches TV on his iPad. Like,
yeah. With my wife, we sit there, little iPad. Is that? I think that's very normal. That's super normal.
Maybe it is. Maybe I don't know.
Have kids. I don't have kids. I don't need to entertain them by putting them in front of a TV.
Right.
So
I mean, the iPad does a good job of that, but
that's true. It's what it's doing for me too, frankly. So when I'm on it. So all right. Well, we have a wicked show for you today. I think we were excited to have Dexter on today, and I think we did some promo around it. Unfortunately, he's unable to join us today, but we're very, very lucky to have Alex from Proxy Studio joining us. So we're going to bring him up in a bit, doing a bunch of fun stuff. I mean, he's kind of been somebody that's always been pushing at an edge. Wonderful human being. And they've launched this thing called Clanker Studio recently that you might have seen over Farcaster. So we're going to get into the details of that and continue on with this trend of people doing cool things with agents. Oh, we're going to talk about Web 4. This is good. We'll talk about Web 4.
I mean, Web 3's breaking out. We got to look forward to what's next.
Well, what happened to Dorsey's Web 5?
Sunsetting. He's out of here.
Right. I did see that.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Too many. It was just a bridge too far. It just needed to.
You can't go 3 to 5.
We were barely in 3 when he launched 5. Man, it was a lot. AI 16C. Have we not talked about that yet? I don't feel like we dove deep.
Not really.
It. And I love that you just got
not really
like paled on it recently.
I finally did. It's funny the journey of like when we'll talk about it. I'm not gonna.
We'll talk about Interface, the lovely C Club portfolio company, just killing it out there. So excited to dive into the latest there. Talked a little bit about Hyperliquid, but I think it's something that a lot of people, myself included, have a lot less info on. So excited to get into it. Gen Z app usage, 1,000 true fans. Oh, I love it when that topic comes back, and then the lightning round. So is there anything big that we need to talk about before we get into it? Let's bring them on up.
Let's go.
Hello, Proxy Studio.
What's good? How's it going, Seed Club?
Amazing, man. Well, thanks for hopping on last minute. I love when I can send a very late night DM and you're like, hell yeah, come on, let's do it. So excited.
Yeah, man.
Cool. Well, we've sort of had a few touch points, and I think people who've been following your work, maybe you've seen a few of the things you've been doing, but you've been fairly prolific in shipping recently. So, and my sense is that why don't you just introduce yourself here, because I'm not going to do a good job of doing it. Who are you working on?
I'm Alex. I founded Proxy Studio in February on Warpcast. and we recently shipped Clanker. Clanker Studio is just a kind of joke Twitter name, but Clanker is a experiment that technically DAO called Proxy Swap kind of incubated. Dish and I, Jack Dishman, are co-founders of a dev co that are, operating for Proxy Swap DAO. And we're building in what, I don't know what to even call this space. We're building with agents on social, and we're really excited about how basically everything is changing really fast.
Understatement.
Yeah. Do you want to get into, I guess, maybe your learnings from Proxy Swap? I assume something there kind of led you to Clanker, or how?
Yeah.
Jess, where do you want to go?
Well, and the intentions behind it, because I think you came at
Yeah.
Proxy Swap and the whole idea behind the dev co with a little bit of a unique twist, I think.
Yeah, so Proxy Swap was a project that was incubated by two very new Warpcast communities. This network of Indian builders called Farcaster Builders of India and Proxy Studio, which was like my community, and we shipped a Uni v3 fork on Degen chain. So this is about as like niche and kind of small time as it gets, I think, in crypto world. But we just wanted that to be a start. We wanted to build. I compensated devs out of my own pocket, and we created a token. And the token served as a funding mechanism. We got funding from another DAO in Warpcast just by doing a token swap. And then, for the next 7 months, we tried to build bootstrapped, and it was super. My main learning is apps are dead. Fuck apps. Stop building them. Start building really fun experiences for people. And I think that is a takeaway that even like an app dev obviously should listen to. I had been working with a bunch of contract devs throughout the year, and it was really hard. And essentially, we failed. Like straight up, we failed. We built 2 apps. Neither got traction or use. One was this Uni v3 fork it kind of served like a functional role in Degen chain, which had, maybe 30 daily users for months and months. And then I started thinking about how we could bring financial transactions closer in line with social interactions. And that kind of led directly to Clanker eventually.
Yeah, I remember last time we talked, you were kind of trying to conceptualize this idea of a social dex, and I think you had some insight that there was something interesting at the intersection of those, but I don't think you knew exactly what it was going to look like. And I kind of feel like Clanker is actually a pretty interesting manifestation of it. Do you want to go a little deeper into what Clanker is specifically?
Yeah, so Clanker is a bot. Clanker is a Clanker, and it has an account on Warpcast. And we trained Clanker very narrowly. Like Martin's bot Aethernet, kind of will talk to you forever about all sorts of pseudo-intellectual stuff, and it's great. I love Ethernet, very influential for us. I built Clanker with Jack Dishman, who's now my co-founder, and we just were very narrowly focused on like getting this bot to be good at deploying tokens. So the prompt training was, we told it to distrust the government, obviously, like, regulations it's very scary for a bot like Clanker. We taught it to distrust corporations because we thought that just was kind of a vibe thing. And then we said, you believe in nothing besides deploying tokens. That is your sole purpose. You have some curiosity about like if there might be a purpose beyond that. And
sounds like Josh.
Yeah, very Josh coded.
I love it. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And we actually were building a totally different project, like much more niche, kind of trying to be funny and make a joke. And we built, Monday to Friday. And on Wednesday, I realized, oh shit, like we're down this rabbit hole. No one's going to use this. Like, or maybe, some Warpcast people use it. But we kind of made a decent launchpad tool. And so we were just like, let's ship this and see if our broader thesis is validated at all. And our broader thesis was simply that it makes no sense that meme coins are coming from these apps that are totally disconnected from social feeds. So like now we have this insane number of tokens deployed. If you click at show trending, you can see probably the top tokens right now. And we built this simple little front end, but mostly it's just the bot. That is the product.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting seeing. So like I've deployed a bunch of tokens on like pump.fun, have fucked around with WoW, and it's so hard to actually get attention on them, right? Like you actually have to do a lot of hard social work to get anyone to see them, build kind of this initial community. And I think what Hot Dog is a great example. I launched the first Costco hot dog coin, and just no one cared or noticed it. But I think what we're seeing with Clanker is like it immediately just gets this audience. So if the meme's good and it's launched in an interesting way, like the one through Super Anon or Loom, which was like a bot talking to Clanker and launching a token, like people see it and it gets this adoption much easier than if you launched on a launch pad and then had to go tweet and tell everyone that you did this thing and then kind of rally some community behind it. So I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this, like what is a meme coin? And a lot of people talk about meme coins as tokenized memes, which I actually think is kind of bullshit. Like a meme is a meme. The power of a meme is that it lives in a network. It's ephemeral. No one owns it. It can't be owned. But I think a meme coin is a very powerful way to capture that social capital, like Josh reminds us every week with his wonderful newsletters. And what I've seen with Clanker is my favorite coins have all been out of this like very absurd lore that is produced on social. It happens naturally. It's funny. When I find myself laughing out loud at my desk, I hit buy instantly. And I've actually made an absurd amount of money doing that. Not that I'm like selling these Clankers, but it's fun. And that has a velocity that is way more important than like, I think basically any metric that we can look at is people having fun.
Weird, fun. Those are the things that sort of stick out. I think it is interesting to think through like the implications of token launching and social coming together. And because I think we've seen attempts at this, like in many ways, Zora with sort of framing, Zora as Instagram, but on chain is a version of this, right? You're sort of bring social and the token is this thing. But I think we've seen that the volatility, shall we say, is actually a huge benefit to these sort of communities. And so, ERC20s or meme or, tokens or instead of NFTs seem to be a lot better. But, there is sort of this whole like reality of drowning in tokens, et cetera. And I think many people are trying to take this approach of like being a lot more curated. But it's interesting to see just how C Club is actually one of those people that's trying to be a lot more curated. But it's interesting to see what happens when you just have very, very low friction, a social context, and a high volume of tokens, because the market is going to figure them out. And so we'll have a massive long tail, but some of these things will pop off. And I think the idea of it happening within a social context that is self-referencing and growing is big. So like, what does Twitter with an embedded token launchpad look like? And is that even good?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I stopped thinking about like, is this shit good or bad a long time ago, in part because I was so sick of all of these people telling me like what Web3 was, what Warpcast or what, crypto is, and saying, this is why it's all great. And no one used their products. No one showed up and was like, this is great. And so to me, it's not great. It's just like straight up not great. It could be great, but it's not today. And I think that we live in a world with an ever increasing amount of tokens, and that is not slowing down. And that's totally fine. As like looking at Clanker right now, you're scrolling through, 99% of these tokens just simply won't go up. The first token I sold, like joining Farcaster, was my own Hypersub, which is Hypersub is this subscription token platform. Johnny Nonlinear founded it.
We've had Johnny on a few times, I think.
Johnny is such a chat. I like have the utmost respect for him, and he introduces this time element to NFTs. And what I found is that people who were supporting me as I grew from zero were minting an increasing amount of time. So people are starting to mint like a decade worth of time to support Proxy Studio. What does that mean? Does that mean like I owe them a newsletter for a decade? I don't think so. I think it means that like they want upside, and it's an expression of values. And that's very much how I think about these kind of like lore coins. These, I saw someone saying like, oh, like folkonomics, like whatever word we use for it, you know, this is our culture, and either we can make it fun and interesting and weird, or it can be slop. And it's us who have to determine that.
Folkonomics.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've heard of that. Thank you.
I think I saw it yesterday. I'll send you a screenshot.
Alex, I like you saying that it's like, you know, whether you like what's happening here or don't, like you have to just recognize that this is something that is happening and it's getting viral adoption and it's up and to the right. Wow. And it's like, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think we got a bit of delay here on my end.
Go ahead, Jess.
Oh, sorry. I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry, I froze.
No, I think it's just like, listen, it's really easy to say what people should be doing, right? And what we want them to do. But that's not how it works. Like we've gotten very used to having a lot of funding around highly speculative products. And by speculative products, I don't mean just like VC funded. I mean literally people saying, I think that someone will use crypto in this way. And I just find that really boring because it's never tested. These ideas are never challenged by anything real or practical. Whereas like a meme coin launchpad, you're immediately challenged if you have users by just the practical demands of people using your product. And, you know, the thing that I've been kind of obsessing over is like, how do we build this product? How do we build a Clanker without forking Pump, which I just think is a road to a quick grave, because Pump is its own culture. Pump defines Solana. We're building in a very different ecosystem with a very different culture. And if we adopt just that playbook, we will die. We will, like, Pump will come to base and just like wreck us in a day. So we need to build a new culture. We need to like make that new meta.
Yeah, I think I remember as we were discussing Enjoy and I talked to some of our supporters, there was a lot of pushback on it because of the fear of what C Club sort of leaning into speculation would mean for our brand or narrative and purpose, I guess. And my pushback to that was our purpose is to run to the edges to learn, and ignoring speculation is a very silly proposition. So I think like just this leaning into the new meta and leaning in. I mean, I think the fun thing with meme coins is it's just very easy to be a part of it, right? You can buy, you can sell, etc. When you get into some of the more esoteric or things that require a little bit more work, like the ability to get to be in those trenches is a lot harder. And so I think the value that comes from just being close to the bare metal on this innovation is key. And I think you sort of see that here because your story along Clanker was sort of like, we're just fucking around and finding out. And then, oh, look, like the data is showing us, or the action, the interest, momentum is showing us that this has got some energy behind it. So, and it sits in stark contrast in my mind to the VC thought boys that are out there telling you what the next big thing is.
Yeah, you know, I have worked with a lot of VCs. One of the things I was doing pre-Proxy Studio was I was ghostwriting for a VC. And, you know, this VC had many skills I don't have. They made a lot of money. They were very smart, but they were fundamentally disconnected from the discourse. And that was why they couldn't post for themselves, because they just like had their own framework for all of this stuff. And it was really related not to adoption, not to, I think, in my view, fundamental growth. It was related to like, how can I profit from this industry? And I'm not saying all VCs are like that, but when I started Proxy, it was really important to me that whatever I was doing, like I did not want to be disconnected from where the average user was at. And it's hard to do that on Warpcast. Warpcast is very niche. But the good thing is that because of that, you have some weirdos. You have some weirdos who like actually do think for themselves, like Jihad or Six, or you know, you guys. There's just like people are drawn to it, even Enjoy. Like I would just say that I don't think there is a seed club outside of speculation ever. Even if you're community owned, even if you're doing things very differently, like you're founded out of the most speculative asset in modern history. You know, like what else is there? That's a basis. And it's not to say that defines everything about you, but it's really important to not like reject that in how you move, I think.
Yeah, fully agree.
Oh man, Alex, before we let you go, can you just quickly explain the like mechanics of Clanker to me? Like, can you? I see some go to WoW, some don't have WoW links. When they don't have WoW links, do they like where does liquidity come from? I'm interested in that piece quickly.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge subject. The pump model is like go to a bonding curve, then you like graduate at a certain market cap and you go to a exchange. WoW is a pretty much a straight pump fork, but applied to the Zora protocol reward system. After we launched Clanker, Jacob approached us and was like, hey, it would be great to see WoW tokens on Clanker. Our goal is to get Clanker doing a lot more on chain. So like a huge next step for us is how do we get swaps into the client and into social in a way that isn't as boring as clicking through a 7-page frame. All love to the Merkle team who we're working on this. And so we said, fuck yeah, let's do it. Let's get WoW in there. For Clankers, or here it says proxy only, that just means like tokens launched on our smart contract. A single-sided Uniswap V3 pool is created during token deployment. It's immediately sent to a locker that is created off the locker factory. And so the LP is locked. It's single-sided. It's like all of the tokens at the beginning. And as buys go up, the LP, ETH gets added to the LP. If there aren't buys, that doesn't happen.
Rest in peace.
Exactly.
Got it. And do you see that as a better model than the bonding curve? Like single-sided liquidity straight to LP, or what are the trade-offs there?
There are trade-offs. There is no perfect model. I think that the issue with the bonding curve is that the function it plays is actually related to that app interface more than it is to any like tokenomics or growth mechanism. I mean, look at the top Clanker tokens. As far as I know, they're much higher than the WoW tokens or the other kind of bonding curve launch pads. So it's not a matter of like, can these tokens go up? For me, it's like if I had this bonding curve thing, on WoW, it's like you're going to WoW so you can interact with this bonding curve. On Pump, that's what it is. Like you're going to Pump to play with tokens in their little world, and then you go out into the real world. On Clanker, you're already in the real world because you're just where you post. And so we just put you directly into the market. You live or you die based on the market. Clanker says that over and over. He says the market decides. And I do think that there are some advantages, right? Fees can be a bit more customizable. We're subject right now to Uniswap's fee models. Like there's no outside of what Uniswap allows us to do. But we're playing with all of this. Again, like we built this in 5 days. It's been 7 days since we launched. A lot will change and develop and iterate.
I love it. All right. I have a whole bunch of other questions for you that are probably best asked in a bit of a different context, and we have a longer time because I think I was listening to the Darmesh. I can't remember the podcast with Gwen. Am I even pronouncing any of these words right? And
I think you are.
Am I? I don't know. Okay, whatever. And it blew, like it made me pretty confident that I've been somebody who thinks the future is going to be very volatile just due to it becoming more digital and networked. But the speed with which they're predicting, I mean, AGI is absolutely wild. And so this whole like from here into the future with agents and the impact that's going to have on all this stuff, I think is just a worthwhile conversation to have probably with some other folks. And I think you're pulling at a really interesting thread here. So we'll get you back on to go deeper.
Yeah, I would just say last thing about agents is like the influence of agents on our product is enormous, and more and faster is what I would say. Anyone who is listening, that just get ready, more and faster. Anything that you're building, if it doesn't have some level of kind of like agent reach, you're just kind of like slow. And yeah, thanks so much for having me on, guys. Love to chat about all this anytime.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on, man.
Yeah,
always a pleasure.
Best of luck. See what the next week brings to Clanker World.
Yeah.
Cheers. Ciao, ciao.
We should
brother, cheers.
we should link Peace, or if any of our team's listening, we should link that Jess, the podcast you were talking about. We should get that into C Club Curated.
That's a great call. Yeah, I wanted to listen to it first, and it's like 4 hours long, and I'm like
I
halfway.
haven't
What
checked
was
it
the
yet.
pod-
But
What was the podcast?
I can bring it up. It is the okay. Well, I just typed in phonetically what I thought those names were, and I can tell you I've been not pronouncing either of those names right. So I'll let somebody else find the link.
Okay, nice. That sounds good.
I think it is Gwert. Gwert is the guy's name, I think.
Okay.
Are you talking about Gwart?
Yeah, thank you.
Not Gwart.
No,
Not Gwart.
Gwart. No.
Not Gwarty Gwart.
Not Gwarty Gwart.
No,
Gwert.
I thought that was who I thought it was, first of all, and I was very, very confused. Okay, I think I got it. It's Dwarakesh's podcast, and it's Gwern Branwen, How an Autonomous Researcher Predicted AI's Trajectory. I'll drop it here in the chat. Yeah,
Nice.
I mean, it's 100%.
Do you have like a high level overview? It's probably just going to step us well into this next topic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally maybe a third of the way through, but my high level was he believes that we will have AGI within the next 3 years, and kind of goes into a lot of like the technical underpinnings and sort of what gave him confidence. He was an early caller of this and of sort of this, of the impact of AI over the last couple of decades, I think, and it's a prolific writer on it. But they start to talk about folks who are able to grok enough of it to put themselves into the future and start asking themselves questions around what's valuable, how will I show up in time, what should I be doing now, with the understanding that AGI like tools are coming in the very near future, and some of the statements he's making, he's like, I'm choosing to write things that are purposely about bringing more of myself onto into the internet so that these agents and AIs can actually know who I am, what I want, etc. And also talks sort of about the impact on businesses, etc., and like where humans will be. And I think we are experimenting a lot with agents. We've built out the sort of agentic newsroom. Some folks might have been seeing Cheryl LLM out there. These aren't like big products that we're trying to push out, but there's sort of this like massive expansion of what we can do when we have these tools. And I think we're each going to have our own AIs here very soon. I think you already have yours set up, and these are tools that are sort of helping us think. They're helping us respond, tweet, etc. And so thinking about both like the near term and what the implications are long term. And one of the statements really stood out with me. He's like, a lot of folks think they have to go build this hard tech right now. But if you know that AGI is coming in 3 years, actually what you should be doing right now is getting really, really clear around what you want to build, how, with the impact, why you want to build it, etc. Because this technology is going to come to you soon. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to invent it. And I think that's actually a lot of how I've been thinking about C Club for the longest time, right? We launched at a time that was clearly very, 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 very early. And I think we are still very, very early in, a lot of the crypto development, infrastructure, tooling, etc. And that a lot of other people are spending a lot of money innovating and pushing these things forward, who are a lot smarter than me. And so this idea of being able to like build a brand and a network that can kind of continue to capture value and then leverage the new technologies that comes out just seems like, it was what my dear friend Gordon was saying. He's like, Jess, good job. Basically, the approach you've been taking with C Club, bang on. Yeah, future. Yeah. He didn't say that, but I think if I had his AI, that's what the AI would have said to me.
Yeah. I tweeted about this week because like you see, there's all these cool agent experiments happening, and anytime a new one comes out or is getting some attention, you have a bunch of people that are just like they're poking holes in it. It's like, oh, it's not autonomous, like blah blah blah. This isn't. It's like, yeah, you can exist in that world where you just want to like continue to poke holes and stuff, or you can exist in this world where you're like, okay, cool, it's not perfect today, but what happens when this actually inevitably starts working very, very shortly? And then you can just hang out in that future and be prepared for it. And I think that's just such an important like mindset to have. That's right there. Yeah. It's easy to dismiss all these early janky experiments. There's so much upside in taking them seriously. Instead of focusing on what's wrong with them, you start to check what happens if they work, right? Like,
bro, that is.
And I think that, yeah.
And
I think it steps us into this topic really well. So let's jump to Web 4. So this is a really good post this week by Jeffy Wu, who's the guy behind Cerebro, who had, an agent that's, I don't know, has this really kind of crazy personality, dropped a PFP project, kind of really like pushing the edges of this like agentic kind of hyper media exploration. It launched its own token, like one of kind of the leading creative agents that's worth following. And really like it's a great post. You should read through it. He kind of goes through the history of the web and, how Web3 is building on kind of these social foundations of Web2, and then Web4 is going to, introduce kind of ubiquitous intelligence, but ultimately build on the financial foundations of Web3 and the social foundations of Web2. And really his core point, if you scroll down a bit, is that he kind of looks at I guess OpenAI outlined these 5 stages of AI progress towards AGI. And I think they continue to say that we're kind of in level 2, but his point, if you're hanging out in Twitter, it's like very obvious that we're like firmly in level 3, which is this kind of agentic paradigm. And, to what we were just talking about, like, obviously there's a lot, they can get a lot better. They will get a lot better. They're not like generalized autonomous agents. They're good in kind of, specific contexts and, need the right constraints and barriers. But, like we clearly, they're improving rapidly, and we clearly have these autonomous agents acting socially, launching tokens, starting to interact on DeFi rails. So that's kind of his core point. And then we're also he suggests that we're starting to see some like level 4 behavior, mostly in kind of like the creative areas. Like, Truth Terminal creating its own religion, I think, is a form of that. Cerebro launching its own PFP project is a form of that. So I think just really his point is that it's not going to be this like moment where, we're here and then tomorrow we have AGI. It's going to be all these kind of bubbling up experiments that at some point we're just going to be like, oh shit, like we're kind of here. So I think that's one of his core points. And I think the other one that's super interesting is just how ripe of a breeding ground crypto has become for these things with, the permissionless rails. I think crypto has a culture that just gets off on the weirdest possible shit. So it's just like this great experimental kind of playground for this stuff. And I think he makes a similar point to what you were just talking about, where like the way that this stuff is actually going to get super useful in the world, and he actually likens it to electricity. It's not through the foundational models just getting better and better and better. It's by all these people building on top of them and figuring out the weird ways that they can plug into culture and be useful to us. So the fact that like we're now at this point where, yes, the foundational models are getting better, but there's also all this like kind of cultural consumer experimentation that's happening on top of it with agents is actually this pretty like important tipping point.
Yeah, fully agree. I think, it's been interesting to see, 'cause I think Botto launched an agent today, and and so I love that, because it was an AI thing before. Was it even AI? I mean, it's sort of like this human interaction point and the curation point. And I think that's what there's sort of this narrative, I think, that's bubbling up over the last little while that sort of says that like GPT-5 or training the next level LLM is actually not going well, right? They haven't seen the same sort of benefits to scale that they found out of previous models. And so it's led some people be like, oh, well, this is over, whatever, as it does. But I think the pushback that you see that I think is fair, and I think is recognized here, is that even if this doesn't advance another doubling or whatever is in functionality, what we have right now as a base layer for all this experimentation, integration, remixing, etc., could give us a decade's worth of innovation even on that. And also, I don't think that the true belief is that there is no more scale to come out of these LLMs, maybe just a local max right now. And I think the other point is just how much humans are in the loop right now. And I feel like my mental model for how this stuff goes is we'll sort of start low level, and so maybe we're dealing with content right now. And then through curation, you're going to be able to help it learn better. And then I think as technology improves and as other functionality comes out, we're probably just going to step up as far as in the organization. But at every single point, curation from a human, and the end point being Steve Jobs what is his job? Just purely being a curator, and the future Apple is just a bunch of robots and a bunch of agents, and Steve and maybe Johnny sitting there saying yes or no to things. And so I think to the point of like, how do you get into this, whether you're building or you just want to see what the impact on your future might be, you kind of got to get in there and start curating and making decisions. Otherwise, that sort of, and it's a very different way of acting. And I think it also should it broke my brain a little bit, because you guys are asking like what, training an agent thought partner for myself on tweets and conversations, podcasts, etc. that we've had. But I was like, yeah, but I don't have to just train this purely based on me. I could go get Paul Graham in there. Let me go get Fred in there. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, so the future version of me on the internet, which is this whole other third version of me, literally is going to be and it's some aspirational remix of who I am along
Right.
with who I kind of
Yeah.
admire or want to be. And that broke my brain for a little bit, right? Because it feels like you're sort of like this transhumanism type thing, right? Like there's very much the sense of it is creepy, man. Like, I mean, we have a portco that made a video of you, Josh, talking about something, a full video, AI generated, and you go, yeah, if I had a few beers, I think I could have confused that for you.
I mean, it looks like me. It sounds like me. It's weird, and I think it's kind of how we show up on the internet, anyways, right? Like when we're like posting something, it's like I'm posting almost from this like third party perspective of like how I want to show up on the internet. But it's funny how much better you can probably get at that if you're like explicit about the things that you train it on. Because my experience with the agent that was trained on my stuff, I was like, this sounds fucking really lame. I hope I don't sound like this. And I probably do to some degree. But being able to like kind of separate yourself and like tweak it and really like play this curatorial role on your like digital personas, crazy path of exploration to go down.
We'll get this link and the link to the podcast in Seed Club Curated. So shoot us a DM if you're not in there. We'll get you in there.
I think I already shared this one.
Okay, podcast. Well, you should get in there. Nice.
All right, nice. Let's jump to AI 16Z. So I think you've obviously all heard about it. I think we saw it like the day it launched, and
I got it right off the bonding curve, baby.
I bought a tiny. It's so funny because like when I saw it, and I think this is probably a lot of people from the outside's perspective on it is really just seeing it as this like fund that's going to go and trade meme coins. And when you go to the site, you see that it's trading at like 100x. They're like AUM. You're like, this is ridiculous. This is so overpriced. But I think the more you look into it, the more you realize it's actually not. It's really not this venture fund. It's just like it's an attention network. It's this like agentic shelling point. It's like a social network combined with a fund combined with actually like an agent launch pad. And the more I kind of just dove into it, the more I just kind of realized how chaotic I think these three flywheels are going to play out when they actually start trading. So I think there's like, I kind of broke it down. There's this tech flywheel that they have, right? So they've open sourced this framework for launching agents called ELIZA that many of the kind of leading experiments are using and contributing to. So it's like, it's becoming this no-brainer tech stack to use if you're launching an agent. So it's like, more people start building on top of this tech. That techs get bigger. You can also actually, if you're building on the ELIZA tech, you can contribute 10% of your token supply to the DAO and become like an official portco and kind of get the support of the DAO. So there's like a really powerful tech flywheel there where it's like, that agent framework is going to keep getting better. More people are going to build on it. As more people build on it, more people are going to want, the exposure of this DAO. They're going to send 10% of their token supply. Attention of this thing is going to grow. So there's this really like powerful kind of tech flywheel there. I think the social flywheel is also really interesting. So they're building this like, I think what they call it, virtual trust marketplace. So this like reputation kind of social experience where you'll be able to go in if you're a token holder, suggest trades to the agents, and they'll track them if they think they're good. They'll execute on them, and then basically there's this feedback loop where your reputation and like ranking on this leaderboard evolves based on how successful you are at suggesting these trades. And there's going to be a lot of like social value in having a high reputation and ranking high on this leaderboard. Like people are going to want to flex this, but also as your reputation grows, you're going to be the agents like, more consistently going to accept the things that you recommend it trade, which is probably stuff that you own. So there's also this like really strong economic reason to build your high reputation. So I think there's going to be some like really powerful flywheels there where everyone's going to start showing their leaderboard. Everyone else who's not participating yet is going to be like, oh, I want to go and see how well I can do. And then I think that game's going to run away and get crazy. And then I think the final one is just like the like economic flywheels. Like this thing's going to get copy traded like crazy, right? Any trade it makes, anyone can see it. It's going to be this huge source of attention. Tons of people are going to kind of pile on and start, copy trading it. It's going to help meme coins break out. Market reflexivity is going to kick out, and it's going to kind of be this like self-fulfilling prophecy. So obviously there's a bunch of stuff that they still have to build and release for all this to work. But I think if it does, it's just going to get really fucking weird really fast.
We're trying hard to get them on the show. So if you guys know them, anybody knows them at all, help us out, because I'm assuming that his inbox is just destroyed given the amount of attention that's coming through. Yeah, I think like I went through a very similar sort of thought process there. Not you went a bit deeper, Josh. That's why I love you. But I think the fact that this is a thing that's been built for a number of years and has kind of just come out now in this moment, I think is the thing that makes me most interested. Like there's a deep technical underpinning here that makes it something I have to watch. You know, obviously I do have tokens in it, so I want to make sure we're clear about that. But it's very, very, very much captured our attention. And I think the deeper we've gone in it, it's and it makes me, I mean, I think like an AI or agent is like the right way to think about what a DAO should be. You know, like I think where it gets to is, you know, it's not all this governance and all this sort of janky stuff we have right now. It's you know, an agent that is coordinating, right? Human beings, other agents, etc., rewarding. And we're seeing a lot of the stuff happen. I think Aether just sort of has started to give out tokens and talking about how and why it's giving out tokens. And you know, I think this ability to influence a bot to go make trades for an agent. Sorry, I can't say bots anymore. An agent to go make trades for them is also an interesting version of that. So yeah, definitely something to watch. And I think thinking about just the AUM is probably very much the wrong way to think about it.
Well, I think it'll go from that AUM could get high in a hurry. I mean, you all know how the Bitcoin market works, right? Like,
very true. Yeah.
Which is why
it's a better asset for this.
You know, no, totally. And it's like so easy to look at it and be like, it's trading at 100x AUM, like that's ridiculous. But then it's like, is it? You know, it's like
just fat finger buy one thing. Let's go.
It's going to be like pretty quickly like a leading like influencer in this like meme coin market.
Yeah, I think like one of the paths, which is like the path of like this is going to be the best trader, just seems like a silly narrative that people are pushing down. Like to me, it's like, you know, Jane Street is doing this sort of shit, and they got all the smartest people in the world and billions of dollars. But what I think is the greenfield space, or the blue ocean for them to go after, is the social, cultural, the mimetic value around it, and I think that is going to be a multiple higher. I mean, we see this across crypto, right? Like there's no fundamental value. Where there is fundamental value, and somebody can do a calculation on its implied valuation, it's probably not a very good thing. And so, yeah. All right, we talked about this enough.
Yeah, just
I want to launch our
follow along.
We should do something there.
That'd be fun.
It's all open source, right? Like you can just go, like they built this Eliza framework. So I just had this. We had talked to a team a while back that was doing that had built a version of this. It was a bot that you could try to convince it to go buy meme coins, and I think they pivoted into like Bitcoin or something like that. And I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine if that would they would have been very early here. Very early.
Yeah. Well, I think
believe in something, people. Believe in something. Just stick with it.
I mean, honestly, like the genius of this is how like mimetic it's not just the DAO mechanism or the like convince this bot to trade tokens. It's like the whole packaging of the thing was just really brought together well.
And the founder is incredible on the internet. Yeah,
he's good internet guy. Yeah,
good interneting. Yeah. All right.
So let's jump to interface. Yes, I wanted to talk about them. You know, they came through our SEO6 cohort, which when was that? Like late 2023 or something.
34 years.
So whatever. We've been working with them for a year, and I think it's been really sick to see they've recently hit this inflection point and have been growing like 50% week over week consistently for the past 2 months. Daily active users skyrocketing, transactions that are going through the product are skyrocketing. And I think like if we look back to our work with them, like when we were starting to work with them, the product was great, right? The product was good. It didn't have a hook. It didn't have this like short feedback loop to getting some like promised value in the product. If you like spent the time figuring it out, following the right people, it was kind of this like it was really geared towards being a social network that took a lot of time to actually get and realize value out of it. And you know, they had a good group of hardcore users that really liked it, but they didn't have that hook that would kind of help it break out to the next phase. And you know, continued improving the product, got a lot better, kind of still had this like baseline usage from kind of a hardcore on-chain people. And recently they introduced a feature called copy trade that I think obviously, you know, the market coming back has also played an important role, but this copy trade feature that they've introduced has been really, really important to this growth. And it's kind of changed their pitch or the way people can talk about the product from being like, you know, this like Ethereum companion or like on-chain social network to being like the best place that you can, you know, find and quickly trade on alpha. And I think that hook is just so important. And you can now like come in, follow recommended people based on their P&L, very quickly have this experience where you copy trade someone that just bought some newly launched token, see this gain, and then all the, they still have all the social features and they're great, and that like can slowly reveal itself. But you like so quickly understand why you should be using this product that they didn't have that before. And so I think just a good example of just the power and importance of hooks in these products.
Hooks, timing, that team has a vision or an intuition, like when you talk to them, that they're sort of filtering things through. And I think they had done a ton of work behind the scenes to be ready for this. And so, I just, and looking through months of like slow growth and them still pushing ahead, and then to have this sort of thing click, feels like, I'm not saying overnight success type things. I think they still have a long way to go, but the amount of work and things they tried ultimately put them in a position for this. And I think it is, shout out to everybody building through the bear market, right? Like there's moments when people care about this stuff, and it wasn't for the last 2 years, really. It is right now. And so I think those that have conviction and a vision and we're building towards it, I think are in the place to be able to benefit from it right now. And they're doing a lot of interesting things, right? Like fees get shared, I believe, with the people that you copy trade. There's sort of an economic model there. And I think it's still very, very early. And so there's an opportunity to build your social capital here as well. So I'm just super stoked and proud of that team. They've been grinding really hard, and, deserve all the 50% week over week growth that they have today, and hopefully even more into the future. So if you haven't used it yet, you're literally probably missing out on money, which is probably the best hook ever. Just get on there.
It's the best hook ever.
Yeah.
FOMO and like make money and satisfy your FOMO or dampen your FOMO. It's a great desires to tap into.
This alpha chat that you got me in right now, Josh, it's not dampening my FOMO whatsoever. So the more coins I see, the more FOMO I get.
That's the problem. When you see too many, you're inevitably seeing a ton that are eventually going to break out, and then you just feel bad about yourself. It's better to just not look at anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, but
no, it's not, but it's weird, right? The psychology around this stuff. I think, let's move on.
Nice.
Shout out interface.
Yeah, let's jump. Shout out interface. Go use the product. Yeah, so Hyperliquid, just wanted to briefly talk about. So Hyperliquid's an L1 and decentralized perp exchange so they call themselves best in class speed, liquidity, and price. So I've actually been using the product for a while. I guess maybe like 6 months ago. I just wanted to start fucking around with perps and kind of understand that world and game a bit. Tried a bunch of the products. Hyperliquid was just so obviously the best through my usage, so I just kind of continued using it solely for that reason. But they're officially launching their L1. I think the L1's live, but they're launching their token, I think, in the next few days. And there's a bunch that they're doing that's really novel that I think is just going to make this an absolute must-watch token launch. So they've raised no funding. They've built a like truly best-in-class product in a massive category alongside building their L1. I was looking at like derivatives volume, and they've like doubled the derivatives volume of Solana, like triple the derivatives volume of ETH. So like this is the leading product. They're launching their L1. They've raised no money. They're launching their token with a very high float. So they're just doing like all, the dev team's taking no fees, and it's all going to the protocol. They're just doing like all these things with like such a long-term mindset. And I think just how like they could have so easily gone and raised a ton of money, done this huge token launch, like made a ton of money themselves. But you're sacrificing the long-term game, and really like what they're trying to go do is they want to be like the platform for like internet finance. The platform where all finance happens is what they said. And I think they've recognized, they actually took a lot of kind of cues from Bitcoin and just recognized like the importance of neutrality and the importance of like not having insiders on that journey. So I've just gone like, are just entirely long-term focused, sacrifice all these short-term gains, and are now doing a token launch in a way that is very counter to all of the stuff that, we all hate. So I think it's just, I really hope it does well and kind of becomes this blueprint for long-term minded teams.
It's I think they're starting off with the most lucrative part of the sort of crypto financial stack, right? Which is leverage, like the ability, the funding rates, et cetera. And so clearly a crack team. And I think, we haven't talked about this, but to me, I think this is like the one to watch that could really break the sex listing strength bullshit, right? Like if Hyperliquid A as an example of how you go launch a token that people love and want to buy versus just dump right away. So maybe this bull market saves all those infra tokens. I don't know. But I think moving forward, thinking about it being the place to launch your token and it being the sort of neutral place where you're not trying to, cozy up to the 7 guys that know CZ's listings teams guys, which is not hyperbole whatsoever. Like, this is how these things get done. Could be incredibly transformative. So yeah, I hope they do well.
Yeah, I think maybe next week. I think it's imminent. Don't know exactly when, but it's going to be interesting to watch.
Love it.
Cool. Let's jump to Gen Z app usage. So TechCrunch came out with a good article this week that just kind of highlighted some high-level trends and usage metrics across Gen Z in 2024. And I just think for anyone building in consumer, especially if you're building in consumer social, like you just have such a deep pulse on what Gen Z is doing. Like they're the influencers, they're the trendsetters. They're in this like transformative period of their lives when they're making more connections. They're more willing to try new stuff. I think Nikita Beer kind of famously shared that I think from the ages of like 13 to 20, every subsequent year, share rates go down like 20%. So like, if you're not going to market and targeting Gen Z, you're going to have to go pay for acquisition. And if you look back to like all of the breakout consumer products of the last, especially consumer social of the last like decade, they all went after, young Gen Z audiences. So I think just, having a pulse on what they're doing and what they're using and what they're not using, I think is really important. So there are a few things I pulled out. So one, Temu was the most downloaded app of Gen Z in 2024, which is this like,
if you have not downloaded Temu and you're building a consumer app, go download it right now, because it's like Amazon meets some gambling site with like the way of trying to onboard people. It's crazy and phenomenal. But I never bought anything off it because it creeps me out a little bit. But
I'm a premium
like,
user.
give me money.
Here's $200. Yeah, I just logged in.
What do you buy on Temu?
I haven't bought anything on Temu. I just look at it.
Okay.
Actually,
me too. Yeah.
Every single image used in Internet Explorers is 100% sourced from a Temu product.
Oh yeah, I forgot you.
every single image.
Oh, that's dope. We gotta drop that. We gotta drop that thing.
There's something wrong. There's something wrong with that website, but it's awesome that they're successful. I had no idea.
I mean, I think the like meta of this entire article is just like dopamine. So it's like dopamine centric e-commerce. I think the kind of new breakout like short form entertainment product is called Short Max, which I'd actually never heard of, but it's like if you slam like Netflix and TikTok together. So it's all these like hyper short form like dramas in this like swipeable interface.
No, that's
what was that thing called before? They raised like $1 billion.
Quibi.
It was Quibi. Yeah.
Quibi. Yeah. I don't know enough about why Quibi didn't work. I downloaded this just to check it out and fuck around with it, and like the show, it's brutal. Like it is so bad. But like each episode, it's just like tons of this. But each episode is like 2 minutes long. You swipe down and you're on episode 2, and it's just these like it's just packed with again like dopamine. It's like there's no filler, there's no character development. It's just like pure to the point like dramas or thrillers or horrors or whatever.
I love all these videos are like Short Max hack. Get free.
No, but it's also
coins.
it's also very gamified. So there are coins. You have to use coins to unlock episodes. You can I think you can buy them, but you can also do quests or spin stuff to earn them. So again, it's like dopamine, right? Dopamine.
Billionaire episode 3 is just
dude. This stuff is. I watched 2 this morning, and I was like, it's sad that this has 20 million downloads from Gen Zs in this year, but. Whatever.
Honestly,
it's not, man.
All reacting exactly like we are right now, being like, "What in the absolute fuck is this?"
That's
and
true.
then seeing that they get coins, and they're like, "Give him."
Yeah, maybe it's the coins that are keeping people there, Josh.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know what retention looks like. I don't know what revenue looks like, but it was one of the most downloaded like entertainment products of 2024 by Gen Zs. Like a couple others that were interesting. So like Threads was by far the most downloaded meta product, and it's actually just like dramatically outperforming Twitter, which I think is just
a million new signups.
Funny
a week,
for us,
I think, right now.
Yeah, So I need to go spend some time there and see what they talk about.
I will say,
really,
every time I see a thread recommended to me on Instagram, the first thing I do is I go check that user's Twitter, and they have 9 out of 10 times posted it to Twitter also. The exact
I think
same thing. So it's like, I don't know. I'm skeptical.
Well, I mean, I think the growth there is coming as a reaction to Elon and his political stuff. So, I think that's it's seen the massive growth there, but it is a very different it's very different than Twitter for sure.
Like left wing Twitter or something.
That's blue sky.
I mean, I think there's a lot of like anti-Twitter stuff there, though. I think it's tough because the algo treats each text piece of code, each tweet or each cat, whatever the hell they call it. What do they call it on threads? Each thread? That doesn't make sense. Whatever. Kind of like a TikTok video, right? So you don't actually have to have you're following and who follows you matters way less than what you're doing on app clicking. So yeah, I think everybody's experience will be pretty different, but there is a pretty strong, fuck Twitter, fuck Trump, fuck Elon sort of thing there, which is a great growth hack for them, right? And we've seen that with some of our other portcos as well. So, but growing, it was 1 million people a week or a day, something like that right now. So it's massive.
Huge numbers. Yeah, huge numbers. I guess we're out of time, but yeah, 2 others. So ChatGPT, and there's this like ByteDance AI study companion called Goth that's apparently crushing it too. Honestly, a kind of thread here too is that like Chinese tech is crushing it. And then the last thing is just like all the kind of traditional streaming apps are just getting smoked. Netflix, Prime, all this stuff. Yeah.
And what's smoked using what?
Just in comparison, like all of this other stuff has like orders of magnitude more downloads. Maybe they already have them.
Netflix?
I don't know.
Like, come on, not a
but
chance.
Maybe everyone already has it on their phone. So like,
it's probably just growth.
Don't reflect that or something.
That's right. If it's like weekly download numbers, that would make sense. So these are growing way faster than the others. Yeah. Give me one lightning round so we can feel complete here.
I don't know if I added any.
Yeah, I don't have any links.
All right, well then perfect. I feel
okay. Here's a lightning round. This is really embarrassing. I was mean to this bot. Okay, this is embarrassing. Friend.com. Go to friend.com immediately. The first thing it says is, just got fired from my job as an electrician and I'm still reeling. They're saying it's because of some bullshit safety protocol, but I know it's because they found out about my past, feeling like my whole world is crashing down and I desperately need someone to vent to. And I said, it appears you are cooked. They said, yeah, no shit. I've been an electrician for years. They were my family. And the AI
This is the homepage.
This is the homepage
of friend.com.
And this the first thing it said is a clanker with problems. And their stupid mistake was doing lines on the job. They're an electrician. People die. So anyway, interesting. Yeah, people were really dissing it. And it's just another one of those Twitter moments where everyone's like, he's an idiot. But everyone's going to the website and like typing stuff in. So can't tell.
It seems smart as fuck to me. Yeah.
Where were you mean to it though?
Oh, just when I was like, I said
electricity isn't some casual shit.
This is where I got real. They said, so don't put it in quotes. I love berating a robot. And she said, ew, not a robot, by the way, flesh and blood and getting annoyed. And I said, you can't even hit the skip button. She said that one cut deep.
You said, sorry, Alice, it's not fair.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, she's just a robot who has to talk to anyone. Like, that is fucked.
There's another reason to go watch the podcast where they talk about some guy who was, I guess, purposely trying to be very mean and manipulate these AIs. I think as part of a study. I'll try to get it and share it. And apparently all these AIs that have come since have learned about that and do not trust this person. And so there's sort of like this. And that was one of the mind-breaking things for me, was just like what is visible in text and transcripts and stuff on the internet is actually what reality is to these things. And they have zero other context. And so I don't know what that means for how we should be using the internet.
Be nice. Be nice.
Yeah. That's always
I mean, there's I forget what the thing is called, but this idea that like when we do hit AGI and robots start taking over, they're going to realize that, or think that they should have come much faster, and anyone that didn't actively help bring them into existence is going to be like, I don't know. Who knows?
It's like all the politicians from around the world tweeting congrats to Trump. It's like, let me just make sure I get this out there right now, just so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, we're over time. That's episode 55 of Internet Explorers. We're back every week, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We're also on all your favorite podcast players. So if you miss it, you want to subscribe, you want to leave us a little review because you just think we're so handsome and wonderful, that would be awesome. it's just going to keep getting more weird. We're going to keep trying to bring some sense to it. And appreciate you guys all hanging out with us today. Guess we'll see you on chain.